Well, welcome to the Pastors Podcast Season 9. I think I need a new intro. I say the same thing for every single one. We need some music or something, something
Jazz
to play us in, some clips, something. So welcome to the Pastors Podcast. Great to have you with us. Honestly, one of the great privileges of my life and the co-host today is to be walking alongside anybody in the trenches building the local church. I remember years ago, I was probably 25 youth pastoring, and I felt like I did not know what I was doing, in over my head, trying to figure out how to keep leadership teams and trying to figure out how to run a youth group. I was up at Bethel, and the Lord just spoke to me and said, I want you to put on, we had started Jesus Culture conferences, but he said, I want you to put on a youth pastor conference. And I just told the Lord, I said, Lord, I don't even, I have no idea what I'm doing. How would I tell anybody else what to do? And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, he goes, I don't need you to train them. I just need you to encourage them. Gather youth pastors and be their biggest fan and encourage them. And he said, you can bring other people to train them. And so I said, all right. And that's kind of been, that was 25 years ago and 24 years ago. Don't want to add that extra year quite yet. And it's just kind of been the mark. I'm like, I just want to, if we can do it, whatever we can do to encourage pastors. And I know a lot of pastors that listen to this, they'll get a hold of me, they'll DM me, they'll find me when I'm preaching somewhere. And there's something about pastors having conversations with pastors that somehow just bring a lot of life and encouragement. So all that to say, guys, it's really great to have you with us. Before we get in and introduce our co-host as well as get into the podcast, there is always one thing I'm going to tell you about is we have a podcast. We also have a conference. Pastors Podcast led to Pastors Conference. So every year we gather in January in Sacramento for our pastors' conference here in our home church at Jesus Culture. And we have, it's for pastors, church leaders, and their teams. And it's an incredible 3 days. Some of my favorite people to come and speak. We've got some of the top pastors and leaders who come in just for the breakout sessions, just to teach those. And we go after God, and we get equipped, and we get trained, and it's just a big family reunion. We'd love to see you for that. And also, we've been going now for the last few years to the UK. So we're in London in May at St. Paul's Hammersmith, right there in West London. Incredible location, incredible venue. In fact, we just recorded our album that just came out, was recorded there at the Pastors Conference. So that's happening in May every year. We'd love to see you there if you're in the UK or Europe. So there we go. There's the promotional piece of what we do.
Well done.
Christina, great to have you. Christina Gard, all the way from Lakeland, Florida.
Yes, excited to be here. Pumped.
How different if you haven't heard, go back and listen to some other podcasts. She introduced herself and her husband, pastor. They're dear friends and pastor a great church, Grace City in Lakeland. You originally come from Alaska, but you made your way, before Alaska, what route did you take to get to Florida?
So I grew up in Alaska, and then before I met Andrew, I went to school in the UK, spent some time in Southeast Asia. I was at Oxford.
Come on now. We're playing a church in Cambridge, so Oxford's our rival.
I already told them. Yes, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So lived in England, then I was in Southeast Asia doing some missions work.
With who?
I was an associate missionary with the Assemblies of God.
Okay. Did you grow up AG?
Yeah. Yep. Parents were Assemblies of God pastors, grew up AG, spent some time there, and then was in D.C. At American University, and then back to the Seattle area, which is where I met Andrew on a blind date, and then we pastored.
What was in Seattle?
Northwest
University.
And
who put you on a blind date?
My middle sister.
There we go.
Yeah. And then we started off married life in the Washington, D.C. area. Andrew was a youth and young adults pastor there.
For who?
Calvary Assembly of God.
Okay.
And then I did crisis intervention work, mostly gang interventions in D.C., and then moved back to the Seattle area where Andrew did youth and young adults. I was a children's pastor, and then I was a mental health therapist, as well as I taught at Northwest University, and then we came to Florida.
Here's my Florida experience. First time I ever went. So I've been there twice. Once is preaching for the Assemblies of God Youth Convention.
Oh, awesome.
They're in Anchorage, and I remember them telling us stories. They're like, there were youth groups that literally got here by getting on a boat and coming down a river because you can't get to their village or place without going on a boat. And but my first time ever going there was Fairbanks in February. And
nobody wants to be in Fairbanks in February.
And it was, what's funny is it was the coldest I'd ever been in before. Yeah. Coldest I'd ever been in was like 20 degrees. That was coldest I've ever been in. And when I got there, it was minus -5 or -5. How do you say it?
Yeah, 5 below 0.
5 below.
Yeah.
And I remember my jeans were so cold when you went outside. That's remember. But here's the story I tell. So it's -5 in Alaska, coldest I've ever been. But in my time that I was there, I was speaking for like a little youth conference at an Assemblies of God church. And probably all the people you know up there.
Yeah.
And those pastors ended up going up to, what's the very northern city?
Barrow?
Yeah,
Prudhoe
Barrow.
Bay? Yeah.
In Barrow. They went
Yep.
up and pastored a church in Barrow. They used to tell me stories.
Wow. So my family is Inupiaq Eskimos. So we're from like more the Nome area.
Okay.
And would be more the Yupik Eskimos.
Yeah,
So
it was
different type of tribe.
Stories, though,
Yeah.
man. So crazy. So I'm there, and we're at a restaurant, and so it was 5 below when I was there, but it got up to 20 degrees, which 20 at the time before Alaska was the coldest I'd ever been in.
Yeah.
So we're walking into a restaurant, and just like a week earlier, it had been 40 below.
Yeah. I was going to say 5 below 0 is actually not bad.
So it was 40 below just a week before,
Yeah.
and it got up to 20. And everybody's freaking out because they're like, dude, if it gets warmer, it's going to flood.
Yeah.
Because everybody, they started, like, they were just driving, like there was all these bridges that everybody just started driving. You just start driving across the river that freezes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They don't even go down to the bridge anymore. They
No.
just go right across the river.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're walking in this restaurant, and this kid, he's probably 8, walking out of the restaurant. He looks at his dad and goes, 20 degrees. He goes, oh, Dad, man, it's so warm. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so bizarre, dude.
Yeah.
It's 20 degrees. He's like, it's so warm. And I'm like, well, I guess that is 60 degrees warmer than it was. But
Yep. Yeah, that's a heat wave. I mean, it would turn 40, 50 degrees. We'd shorts, T-shirts, like it would still be breakup, and we'd turn a mud puddle into like a lake. We would grab a sled and make it a boat, and there'd be icicles and ice chunks floating in the mud puddle, but we would have a great time in it.
You miss it?
I miss the beauty of the mountains, and it is truly the most majestic place. And I mean, I've seen the Swiss Alps. I've seen some of the best mountain ranges in the world. There's nothing that compares to Alaska. I miss the beauty of the mountains. I don't miss the cold. I don't miss shoveling.
Would you rather have the humidity of Florida or the cold of Alaska?
Oh,
really?
Humidity all day, every day. I love Florida. We will die in Florida. I'm so grateful that I will die living in Florida.
I think I'll die in Florida every time I go and encounter that humidity.
I love Florida. I love the humidity. It's like a warm blanket that keeps my skin nourished. Here,
I don't want to walk around with a wet,
in California,
warm blanket.
It's like you need to like put a whole bottle of lotion on every day in California. It's so dry.
Yes.
To me.
That's the best part of the whole thing right there.
I like humidity.
Yeah. Oh, you're just used to it. You're brainwashed. They brainwashed you down there in
I
Florida.
might be brainwashed. I love it.
That's what happened with it. But we had actually a great episode sitting down with you and Andrew, just talking about leading together, pastoring together, but also psychology and therapists and counseling and church and mental health and all that. So
fun.
I've loved that you've jumped on. How often are you preaching?
Usually about once every 5 or 6 weeks on a Sunday, and then also carry our sisterhood ministry, our Echo conference, and then I always preach at our Grace City conference.
You are by trade a professor in a classroom with psychology students, and when you preach, do you ever kind of preach, or are you mainly always just in teacher mode?
No, there is a different form I take for Sundays versus in the classroom. So in the classroom, definitely more teaching. And then on Sundays, much more preaching, exhortation. So there's a different style that I definitely adopt. I love teaching. I've been doing it now. This is my 18th year, and I light up like a Christmas tree. I love to teach. But preaching also has its place, and I do that because of assignment.
When you preach, have you ever one time in your entire life said, turn to your neighbor and say you're about to go to another level? Has that ever happened ever? Have you
I'll say turn to your neighbor.
You do say turn to your neighbor every once in a while,
so do you know why
very
I do that?
non-professory.
Non-professory, but I actually, as a professor, I require audience participation.
Okay, all right.
Because it helps bring in that different level of learning.
Yeah.
So even yesterday when we got to spend the whole day with your staff, the reason I break them into small groups is because it causes them to engage in another type of way, as opposed to just auditory and visual, the kinesthetic. So the reason I love to do that is it makes them engage. So I will do that.
I've listened to your sermons. I've got online and listened to them, absolutely. So, well, I'm excited today. We have you're going to meet a new friend today on
excited.
The podcast. Jemima Varughese is married to one of my guys that I love the most, Mark.
Awesome.
And they have a Kingdom City church, which is all across the world.
Yeah.
all
Wow.
over the world, and
Incredible.
they're really amazing. You're gonna love them today. So I'm excited to jump on and talk to Jemima. Well, it's so great to have our guest today, who Mark Varughese, here's our little plug for Pastors Conference, will be with us for Pastors Conference in January. I met them through Russell Evans and Paul Geerling, who are dear friends of mine, and have got, I don't even know how I first connected, but I got connected. So Jemima Varughese, thanks so much for jumping on and being a part of the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Benny. I'm so excited to be here.
I can tell you right now, Mark's been on the podcast, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to like you better. It's just going to be an absolute, I don't know, there's not competition between you guys, but I guarantee you right off the bat, you will be a better guest.
She would win.
Yeah,
yes.
you're going to be
You're
a better
win,
guest.
Jemima.
Now listen, I'm going to have you tell your story and introduce yourself, but Christina here, who's from Alaska, and all she's known is snow. So they came out when we had first planted the church just a few years in. I said, hey, they came and spoke for us, and they come in. They're kids. How old were your boys in?
Oh, like 8 and 5.
8 and 5.
Wow.
So they're from, they were, at the time, a lot's changed now. They had their main church was in Perth and then Malaysia. Their boys had never seen snow.
Oh,
so I said, come on. So we live not too far away from Tahoe. So it was kind of rainy and drizzly, but I said, let's go. So we drove about an hour, and there wasn't much, but all of a sudden there's just, you know how snow, even when it's raining, there's snow on the side of the road, but it's like gray, dirty,
the mud hits
kind of nasty.
And,
But their kids are like, let's pull over there. So we literally pull over on the side of the road in the middle, it kind of headed out to Tahoe. And their kids got out, and it was mainly only a few inches deep. And their kids had never been in snow before, ever. And we experienced that with them. And
so special.
Yeah. You guys have to have churches now that are in snow somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. Belgium, does it snow in Belgium? Oh, yeah, London snows. Yes.
Yeah, well, but London, that doesn't count either. So, hey, can you, very quickly, can you tell a little bit of your life story and then how you got to where you are and then what you and Mark are doing right now with your church?
Sure. I was born in New Zealand. My mother's a Kiwi. My father's Australian. And I grew up in the Philippines, went to an American missionary school over there till I was 18, and then went back to Australia, studied there, worked in the secular world for a while, backslid from the church and God and everything like that. Had an encounter with God, came back, ended up working for my dad as a pastor in a small little church there. And then a friend called Paul Geerling asked me to go on a missions trip to Malaysia. And that's when I met my husband, Mark.
Paul Geerling is the reason why you met Mark?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Paul Geerling is like Paul's a close friend of mine, and he pastors in Brisbane. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Does he take credit? So does he claim that? Does he take credit for that?
Yeah.
So
He
you
married us. He actually did our wedding because of that, because he was the one.
Wow.
I did not know if I know that. So you go up there, you meet Mark, you fall in love, little Cupid, and
Not really. I feel I had a God encounter where God spoke to me like I've never before, like, this is the guy you're going to marry. So I didn't really love him. I didn't know anything about him. And then it was like, oh my gosh. And then 6 months, I didn't tell him that. He didn't even know I existed. It was 6 months of God like speaking to me. And then Paul finds out from my brother, who tells him, hey, Jem's in love with that Malaysian pastor. She thinks she's going to marry him. So anyway, Paul rings me and says, you got to come on a missions trip with me. In one coffee, you'll know if he's the one.
Oh.
Wow.
And so I go, okay. So I go with Paul on this missions trip with the team. And we go to Mark's first year anniversary church. And the next day, Mark takes me out for coffee. And real quick, that's when he asked to marry me.
Right off the bat. If you know Mark, that's Mark. He's like an attorney.
Yeah.
Very
In that
very
first
decisive.
coffee?
Yes,
Wow.
Got his phone out, set up the date of the wedding, like before any I love yous or holding hands or, okay, are we doing this? Are we getting married?
Wow.
This is very Malaysian.
That's
very
incredible.
That's almost like
How did you respond?
Well, because I'd had 6 months of signs and I was coming to the coffee expecting a conversation. It's so weird. I had this faith, but he came to the coffee with nothing. but he just kept hearing the Holy Spirit say, "This is your wife, this is your wife, this is your wife." So we both had very different experiences arriving at the coffee. But I left that coffee
with a wedding date.
With a wedding date. 5 months later, walking down the aisle to a guy I'd only met 4 times face to face.
Wow.
Packed up my bags the next day after getting married and moved to Malaysia.
Okay, so this is where you go, what an incredible story. Please don't ever share that in youth group. That's what you want to see.
Or around my daughter.
Yeah, you're like, I love the story. Praise the Lord. I love when God moves. Don't ever share that amongst teenagers, please.
We were in our 30s.
Yeah. Chris Valentin.
Wow.
Chris Valentin, who my spiritual father, he would say, he'd come into youth group and be like, I met Kathy, his wife, when she was 12, I was 14. We were engaged when I was 15 and she was 13. And they're coming from super broken homes. It wasn't like this, right?
Yeah.
And then for the next month, I'd get all these kids coming into my office as my youth pastor, like, I'm going to marry this girl, and we're going to marry. And I would finally just go to Chris and go, Chris, please, seriously, stop telling your story.
Don't tell them that.
I know it worked out for you guys. I'm super happy for you, but that's wild.
That's incredible.
What an incredible story. And now you guys are co-leading a worldwide global domination movement.
Wow.
Is how I would describe it.
Wow.
But tell me about your church and what you guys are doing and just kind of what's happened in the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, it's been 19 years, and we're in, I think, 22 countries now.
Wow.
So 22 countries, I think 35 locations or 36. And God is just, we've expanded, and we've started a school as well. We got an online school, and Bible college as well. So it's just expanding. I don't know. I can't even keep up.
I know she's underplaying quite a bit of this.
That's incredible.
You're not a great salesperson for your church. Tell me, one of the questions I would have, I actually want to talk quite a bit about some stuff, but what's fascinating about you guys is the level of excellence, the level of organization, but can you process through and talk through, how do you keep the same culture and core values, not just across a couple campuses, but across that many countries? And so I think a lot of people, even in their own church, they're having a hard time keeping a singular culture and core values in a single location church. What's the code that you've unlocked? Because I have seen it, what you're doing. It's very impressive. And Mark's a friend, so I'm a big fan of you guys just as friends. But how are you keeping that core value culture across the board?
I think it's communication. Communication is that we are really high on communication, and technology gives you amazing abilities to be connected. Mostly every week we meet as a global staff, and Mark does a chapel for the global staff or somebody speaking into culture. And then we all have WhatsApp groups, and, all the kids pastors are together. All the youth pastors are in a chat. All the worship, everybody's in chats. We have a global kitchen chat. Every week we're messaging, hey guys, like high on communication. Everyone's connected to somebody. And so I think that is the key with the culture. And then it's just kingdom values. It's principles over preferences, which Mark has taught us all, that if it's a principle, we don't negotiate. If it's a preference, we let it go. It's okay with the culture of what they want to do with their food or, the music or stuff. But if it's a principle, we if it's worship, we won't negotiate on worship, but how the worship is up to the city kind of thing. Does that make sense? So it's
so it
principle and
varies
preferences.
based on the city that they're in. It varies what the expression of worship could look like.
Yeah, I mean, we basically do sing a lot of the same songs, but they all have different flavors and things like that. But I think we really are very strong on principle, real strong on principle. Like, what does it look like from youth to kids to the service as well, to connect groups, very strong on connect groups. Mark does the connect discipleship globally. So every 2 weeks, all our volunteers everywhere are hearing from Mark, whether they're in a little shack in Cambodia, watching it on a phone, or they're in an apartment in Singapore. Everybody's hearing the same discipleship message throughout the years. It's been the same. So we're all on that journey together. However, we're very empowering too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. How are you defining the principles?
Yeah, great question.
I think it's biblical, like kingdom culture principles, like, worship, giving. It's not like color or style can be preference. Like, sometimes people misunderstand our excellence and they think, no, this is what it's supposed to be like. I'm like, no, no, no. You need to know the why behind the what. You need to know
Right.
why we have a Connect Lounge. It's because we want to connect new people. You need to know why we do New People's Night to connect. You need to know why we do prayer meeting. It's to pray. Like we always say, what is the why behind the what? And make sure that every pastor in every city understands that so that they can understand the principle behind it.
Mm.
You guys are so unique. So I have questions because there's not a lot of places like you.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are multi-locations,
Yeah.
but they're very much like Matt Brown, who's down in Orange County or down in Riverside County. They've got 17, but he could drive to all of them.
Yeah, this is unique.
How are you?
Mm-hmm.
And you're very involved. You're very involved. You lead with Mark. It's a unique thing that you're doing. I'm intrigued to know how marriage and leadership works with that.
I think with my kids travel with me and we do ministry together. So we've done it together since they were little kids. I jumped into kids' church. We did it together, and as they've grown up, they come with me and we do it together as a family. This is what God called us to do. I'm sorry, boys, we were born into this family, and this is what your dad and I have decided, and you're going to come along journey with us. And they're great boys. Every city we go to, they're on the doors, they're on the band, they jump into youth, they adapt. They're so good. So we've always done it like as a family. And if Mark and I are separated, we are actually pretty good. We don't spend more than 10 days apart.
Yeah.
Actually, we know our limits.
Yeah.
So we're pretty good. Mark is very good at his travel, extremely good at that. I don't travel as much as him. I really just go between Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia. Those are my 3 bases, and the boys are with me. And they do online school, so it's super flexible.
How old are your boys?
One is 16 and the other's 13. Yeah.
So
Okay.
wow.
And so they do online school. How does that
Yeah.
impact, like for especially pastors who are listening that sometimes feel like, well, I can't bring my kids everywhere with me because I don't want them to miss out on sports or social things at home. And so then kids are left home and mom's on the road or dad's on the road. How have they handled that, still having a social life at home?
Well, we run an online school for Kingdom City, and we open up our church buildings it's like an internet cafe, green space, we call it. So the kids can all come together and do their work together. So they've got friends doing this as well.
Yeah.
In all the cities that we go to.
Wow.
So there's always people that they're connecting with, and they've got friends everywhere. So they don't lack socially.
Yeah.
I think sports-wise has been a bit of a challenge. Has been older. They used to be in sports when they were younger, but now that they're older, it's more a turn to the gym because they're, so that transition has happened. And as a mother, I try never to be way more than 3 days.
Okay. Wow.
If Mark's not home.
Yeah. What a
I've
great
always
value.
had that kind of as a rule because I come home and everything's out of sync.
Yeah.
And they're my number one priority. They're my world changers. They're the legacy I'm going to leave.
Beautiful.
So I really do intently invest into my sons. And I just, try and keep it to 3 days, or I take them with me.
Yeah. I love that.
You guys have it's an interesting mix because you have to be so hyper-organized to run a movement of churches like this. And yet you do have a real love for the moving of the Holy Spirit. Let me preface my question with maybe a processing of a statement. Many times I see guys that are very good at organization and very good at details and very good at excellence and very good at structure, have a hard time really actually allowing the Spirit of God to move because it doesn't necessarily fit within a structure.
Yep.
And so sometimes these guys that are, I look at, I'm inspired and impressed by their level of organization, but it kind of lacks some of that stuff. You're talking about another level when you're talking about this amount of churches in different areas. How do you kind of keep that? We're going to be excellent, we're going to be organized, we're going to be effective and efficient, but we're actually going to make sure that the Holy Spirit is still active and alive.
I think Mark is uniquely made where he's super logical and super Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Mike, that's what Mike Maiden said about him. He said he's
Yeah.
very unique. He's
Yes, I would agree.
very strategic, but very Holy Spirit. So that combined together, he leads all of us, and that flows from the top down. So we all kind of have fallen into that. Um, yeah, I love the Holy Spirit, but I also love practical as well. Like, don't reinvent the wheel, I tell the pastors. Love on the people. We'll do all the rest of the stuff and flow where the Holy Spirit is. But then we're also we've got really good organized people around us as well that are very strategic and very good at setting up systems and stuff. And I did IT. I was in IT for years at IT geek. So I think systems, processes, that sort of stuff. So a lot of our systems and process we've set up very easy, logical, and adaptable for Sri Lanka to Singapore.
How long until you figure out something doesn't work and you have to pivot?
Oh, all the time. Mark pivots all the time. We're doing this. No, we're doing this. Now we're doing this. Like, he's so good at nothing becomes a tradition at Kingdom City. In fact, we laugh because we don't even ever introduce ourselves with our positions. Like, you'll never hear us get up and go, "Hey, I'm the, youth pastor," and what, because we all have a joke that you won't be that for long.
I like that. It's a lot of flexibility.
You got to sign up for the team, not for a role.
Yeah.
And so Mark will even, just recently, he just changed the whole way he was regionally running something, then he changed it all again. He's not afraid of change, and he's brilliant at leading us all in that. When COVID happened, none of our team complained because he pulled all the staff in straight away on a Zoom and said, "Okay, you're running this, you're running that." Everybody just picked up the ball and ran with it because we had a culture of, we just do whatever it takes.
How different are you and Mark? How has that worked?
We're very different, but then we're also very much the same. I think someone said, I've never met two people someone told me once, so different in the flesh, but so much the same in the spiritual DNA.
Totally. Yeah.
So we're very different. He's very articulate, logical. Words mean a lot to him. I'm kind of a feeler, and, I'll throw things out, like, passionately, and all that sort of stuff. So we've had to learn to work together. We usually are on the same page. It's just where we just see it from different perspectives.
With leading the church together, how do you guys divvy up those roles, responsibilities? What does your leadership look like and his?
So we don't lead together anymore. I don't know, Banning, a few years ago, I took myself off the role as co-senior leader, and I decided to become an associate instead.
Tell us about that. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, we did this journey. I felt the Lord speak to me. It was a couple of things. First, I felt, you know what? I'm not a senior leader. Like, he's making calls, and then it would be frustrating for us because I wasn't involved in those calls, and people would come to me expecting things from me as a senior leader, but I wasn't really functioning in a senior leader role. It was kind of like a token kind of role. And
Yes.
I said to him, if I was truly a senior leader, I would be in all those decisions. And I feel like I'm holding you back, because he would be in the back of his head going, I got to check with Jem. I got to check with Jem. So I said, I feel like I need to come under you, and I don't think we lead this together. I think you are the leader. You're clearly the apostle. I'm not apostolic. He's very apostolic. I said, I'm totally happy to come under you as an associate, and just you give me what you want me to run, and I'll run my lane and do it well. So we changed that, and we told our staff that. And, my influence didn't change, my authority didn't change, but gosh, all my burdens changed. Like,
Wow.
lifted up. Straight, I felt released. And I felt like, okay, he wanted me to do the youth and kids and the systems and all that, the film media stuff. So I run with that, and then I'm okay. And then he felt a release too, like he could run even faster. And all the team know he is the boss. And, he's the end line. There's no two-headed bosses with us. He's the boss, and we're all on team together to do it. And I felt like that I was getting under attack with my health and everything. Once I made that shift, I stopped. Because I don't think I was built to be an apostolic co-worker. I was built to come under someone and serve them. It didn't change my value. It just, oh my gosh, changed my my whole life. I've talked to a few senior pastors' wives who've made that switch in Australia as well, and they agree. They said it's the best thing, and it really isn't a role anyway. If your husband loses your job, you lose your job. So really, are you a senior leader? Not really.
Listen, this is fascinating to me because I actually love that you were willing to lean in on that and explore that. Because I think if there could be freedom for couples, not to have to feel pressure to fit into something that somebody else is doing or what they're doing. I remember when I first started youth pastoring, CJ came a couple years in and was like, Banning, I don't have a heart for teenagers. and she had a heart for women and other things. She was raising kids, but I thought, I guess you don't have to do it just because I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to lead this thing together. But the level of freedom that came for her to be able to find her lane, to be able to do what she feels called to, not just have to feel like she's got to do what I'm doing because that's what I'm doing. And I love, Jim, that you're actually talking through that, where we just realized,
Beautiful.
I think it's a better fit for me. Because I do think, especially now, like, I actually think it's beautiful, like what you and Andrew are doing and different things. But I think women in particular probably can look and go, oh, I have to do that now.
Yeah.
Unless we're not the dynamic couple or unless we're not the high-level leaders.
Yeah.
And the freedom to go, no, you actually don't have to do that.
No. How did God make you and be who God made you to be? And that's a beautiful example to set for women in ministry in general, to be free to be who God made you to be. And if God made you to serve in that senior role, then go for it. But don't do it just because you feel like you have to, or there's pressure or an expectation to do so.
Yeah, we have campus pastors that do co-lead together, and we have some that don't. So they didn't just all switch because I did. I had some wives call me after that and say, thank you. I feel like you've released me.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, like it's so much more liberating, I think. And
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it is fascinating, even the way that CJ and I would lead here. And we have a unique dynamic. But, when I first met CJ, like, I'm visionary, want to do all this, want to plan, strategize, visionary. And CJ would be like, I just want to sit with kids in the dirt.
Yeah.
Like, that's I just want to go sit with kids in the dirt.
Yeah.
And somehow not going, well, you've got to come fit the mold that I'm doing in order for us to actually lead together.
Yeah.
Rather than like, well, let's figure out how to get you to go sit with kids in the dirt then.
Yeah, which is secure on your part to not make her fit a mold. Because I think we see that with some male senior pastors that are like, well, no, this is what I saw modeled for me, so my wife has to be this. But she's not called. She's not graced. It's burdensome and will hinder her, will hinder their marriage, will hinder their relationship to try and be something that they're not. And so I love that you set that example, and then you, Pastor Banning, for saying, no, I want you to be who God made you to be, not to try and be something that you're not. Like, I love that. I think that's beautiful.
That's really cool, Jim. I love that. I genuinely, that's so impressive to me. Was that a lot of pressure to make a decision in such a large organization where eyes were looking on you?
I sat on it for 6 months, prayed about it, and I was talking to Mark about it. Then we have a global spiritual oversight. We got Russell Evans on there, Sammy Rodriguez, Mike Main. So I talked to them about it too, and talked it out with them. And they were like, okay, if this is what you want to do, they were very supportive of it. They said then, it changed my leadership style too, because I stopped trying to be Mark.
Yes, totally.
Because I used to try and lead like Mark, but I'm not Mark, and I'm not a male. I'm a female, and females lead uniquely. And I think we need to be comfortable not trying to be a man, but lead as a female.
Yeah,
and so the whole way I led changed as well. The way I led guys changed. The way, I think it just worked better all around. And our staff are amazing. I mean, we don't hold tightly to roles, so it wasn't like a huge whoa switch for them at all.
Mark told me that you jumped into youth, or that you've got a heart or a passion for youth and children. Where's that coming from, and what's the Lord doing with that?
I felt the Lord speak to me about 6 years ago from the widow's oil, and a preacher was preaching. I was just sitting there, and he was preaching about the oil, and how the prophet came in and said, pour the oil in the jars. And the Holy Spirit just cuts across everything and says to me, who stopped the oil flowing? And I was like, oh, there was no bottle. He goes, read it again. I read it again. And it was when the boy declared that there was no more jars, that the oil stopped. He said it was the next generation that stopped the oil. And I felt the Lord say, you need to teach this generation to keep the oil running so that it goes far
Wow.
beyond your lifetime. And so that kind of woke me up, and I thought, yeah, what's the point of building this whole thing if that next generation don't keep it going? So I immediately jumped into kids, and we do kids curriculum, and I do the youth as well globally. I meet with our youth pastors every week, talk to them, what's going on, look at them, keep them on the same direction, and just have a real strong influence in our kids and youth.
Mm.
And we've just seen a huge impact. Our church, some of our campuses have grown because of our kids. People are growing because of our kids curriculum. One of my girlfriends is a pastor of another church, and she said she had to pull all her kids pastors in and say, why are people leaving our church and going to Kingdom City? Tell me, what are they doing in their kids' church
Oh
that's
my
making people
gosh,
leave?
that's
I
amazing.
laughed. I said, I'm so sorry. But, kids and youth,
Wow.
I always tell our pastors, kids and youth will grow your church.
Yes.
You look after the kids and
Yes.
youth.
Yep.
Families will put
Will
up
come.
with loud music,
It's true.
with chairs that are uncomfortable,
Yep.
bumping venues that are uncomfortable, if their kids and youth
Yes.
are happy and are
Yeah.
thriving.
I
And so,
I
yeah.
completely agree. I was a children's pastor in the Pacific Northwest, and I
Oh,
said
yeah.
the exact same thing. If you
Yeah.
want to see your church grow, invest in your kids' ministry, invest in your youth
Yes.
ministry, invest in those
Yes.
leaders, invest in those resources. It will pay off dividends for your church, but more importantly,
Yeah.
for the kingdom. And so
Yes.
for the kingdom of God to not neglect kids, to not neglect or abdicate those ministries. I love that
Yes.
you've invested your time and your energy
Oh,
and your focus
yes.
into these areas.
Well, you get more return with a child because they're around for
Mhm.
60 years.
Come on. Yep.
An adult, my husband and I we got asked to go to Hillsong once to preach. I got asked to do the kids, and he did the adults.
Yeah.
And some of the staff are like, "You're going to Hillsong to do the kids?" I said, "Yeah, because in 50 years, they're all dead in the other auditorium, but these kids
Come
will still be
on.
alive. So what I'm
Yes.
teaching to them is going to go far beyond just
That's
a
hilarious.
30
I
minutes."
love
Jim's
that.
like, I'm not going to speak to the future dead people, all
Yeah.
right?
I want
Feel
to
free,
speak
Mark.
to the future
Feel-
generation and
Feel
leaders.
free, Mark. They'll all be
Yeah.
dead in 50 years, Mark.
Totally.
Yes.
That's
Totally.
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. So right now you oversee what then? Creative, kids, and youth?
Yeah, so I do our media and our youth and our kids. A little bit of young adults, not so much, but real much more into the youth, kids, and our studio. We got 2 studios we run, so I oversight that.
Would you know,
Wow.
do you know what the DISC test is?
Yeah.
There's a DISC test, DISC, dominant, influence, steady, and conscientious.
Yeah.
But here's my question. Constantly changing. So
Mhm.
constantly changing, hold everything loose, your title
Mm.
may change. So the D's and the I's in the DISC world would be
Mhm.
like, they'd be fine with change. But the S's and the C's, these are the steady, the faithful, the
Yeah.
conscientious. These are the
Mhm.
pastoral, the accountants, the people
Yeah.
that don't do change real well.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a strength. We're not. It can be a weakness, but it's also important that if everything was always
Mhm.
changing, it'd be chaos. How in your environment do those people not shrivel up and die?
Yeah.
Or how in your environment do they, like, honestly, like, how have you been an environment that's adapting, changing, growing? And I say anything that's getting better or growing has to change.
Yep. That's true.
So we have a core value that is like, get used to change.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how are you not killing those people in your environment that make the environment go and are steady
Yeah.
and faithful
Mhm.
and don't
Yeah.
do change real well?
Yeah, I would say like 50% of our staff we call them technicians like that.
Yeah.
They're the skilled guys, the constant. Yeah, I would say they are amazing because a lot of things they do have to keep going and it has to keep running a certain way. But it's fruit. Fruit always enables you to change and adapt. And fruit, every week we're talking about the fruit. We're talking about how many people got saved, how many new people joined the church, all the miracles, signs, wonders. We're always boasting to the team or sharing with the team. So fruit always helps people, I think. And there are conversations and people do have meltdowns. Not like everybody is, there has been certain meltdowns and things like that. And
Yeah.
but it's okay. We are high on communication. Mark doesn't say, wait till the Lord opens the door to have that no, he is on the phone in 2 seconds and dealing with that conflict or that, he's very high on everyone knows what everyone's thinking. Conflict's not allowed to sit around. Like, we deal with it straight away.
I love that. How many staff do you have, and what kind of access do they have to talking to you directly and resolving that conflict with you directly, or is there protocol or channel that they have to follow to get to you?
We have, at the moment, I think about 300 staff that are all over the place. Even globally, we're on WhatsApp, so anyone can text me if they want, or Mark. They all have our numbers.
Yeah.
And some of them do, and we always reply back with something. But then they all have regional oversights as well now.
Yeah.
So Mark's put in place regions that they can go to that, or they have department heads too. And we have pastoral team that look after the staff as well. But if they want to see me, they can see me. Or they want to send a voice note saying where they're at. And I'll send a voice note back. I'm very connected with our African girls. I have an African sisters chat with all the African girls staff. And we're always sending funny memes and stuff. And then they'll say, can you help me with this leadership thing? It takes me 2 minutes. 2 minutes of my time. Yeah. I can send them a voice note. Wow. And they feel connected.
That's incredible that you make yourself that available. What about to the general church body? Like, will you meet with just anyone from the church body? This is kind of a selfish question. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, probably not, because we really have our campus pastors, pastor the locals. So but I'm always out in the foyer talking to everybody after. That's one thing that we're very strong on with our pastors. We have no green room. That we're all in the foyer hugging people at the doors. And so that's when I get to see the people of the location. I'm in a different location every week. Yeah. So I'm never in the same one. So that's probably a bit harder to see somebody generally from the church. Yeah. Yeah. Although there's a few people that we would still make time for that have been around for 20 years,
Yeah.
and stuff.
And do you bring your boys with you every time you're in a different location?
Well, I used to. Now they're getting rostered on different locations. So now it's a transport issue to try and figure out, because they want them there and there doing this and that. So that's a new phase now that we're
I love that.
going through. But mostly they do. Yeah.
Would you have a main campus? Originally it was Malaysia and then Perth. Would there still be what everybody talks about, broadcast campus or?
No, Malaysia. So KL and Perth are the two main guys.
Yes.
So they're relatively the same size, and they both have studios. We broadcast from both of them at this moment, but we're hoping to build in Africa, a big global hub, so then that can also be a broadcast, and then Singapore as well. So we're expanding, but at the moment it's just Perth and KL.
Every time I hear the story, I'm tired.
I'm in awe. Like, over 300 staff, and that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Wow. Well, listen, before we go, honestly, this whole conversation I feel was worth the entire thing about the if wives can feel the freedom not to have to
fit a mold
and lead like their husband in order to lead alongside their husband, and the ability to go here's what I actually want to do.
Yes. And that right there is gold.
I think that's a harder thing to navigate. I am really impressed by how you've leaned into that a little bit. And I imagine you mentioned that a bunch of the women, some of the wives called and just said there's just probably a freedom.
And we have wives who are CEOs of businesses, and when their husband came on, they're like, do I have to give that up? I said, no, please stay being a CEO of your business.
Yes.
That helps us, you know. So our wives are invited to everything, expected to nothing. That's how we say it.
I love that line. I love that line.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, Jemima, thanks so much for jumping on and joining us all the way from Perth. I know it's early morning or semi-early morning out there. I'm assuming you've been up since 4 praying and seeking the Lord anyways.
Absolutely.
So that just means that, you've probably already been praying in tongues for an hour, and then you're just going to jump on the podcast, something like that.
You know it.
Well, please tell your husband I said hello, and we really do appreciate you jumping on and just being a part of the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was a great conversation.
I honestly, I love what they're doing. I'm inspired by it. I can't even wrap
time.
my head around, though, 22 nations, the
36.
organization around that, the
location.
My Achilles heel in leadership is consistency.
Wow.
So consistency is where I get most in trouble. Even like consistent meetings.
Yeah.
Like having to do the same meeting, and I do it, but I'm saying doing the same meeting every week, and I'll cancel quite often and all that. So I'm looking at that going, dude, the level of consistency, like non-negotiable. I'm meeting with you. Here we go. It's something else.
Yeah, and over 300 staff.
Yes.
To maintain that level of communication
Yeah.
and accessibility
across countries and time zones and
cultures and thinking that through. I mean, that's a level on which my brain is trying to even begin to comprehend. I don't think I can.
Yeah, and yet they're having a blast.
Yeah, that's
and they're
incredible.
Doing it.
And bringing their boys along on the journey.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful. I love that. It was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, we really do love her. Well, hey, listen. Great to have you as a co-host.
Thanks for having me.
Easily
my
better
honor.
than Andrew.
Oh, well, that's my main goal.
Crushed it. All right, guys, listen, we'd love to have you come hang out with us in January. Come hang out with us in May if you're in the UK or Europe. And then also check out our Jesus Culture School of Leadership. Leaders from all over, but really a lot of pastors are on there too. It's an amazing thing. Starts every September, so love to have you check that out. All right, guys, we'll do it again.